Hey everybody, I'm Zac.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching In Depth.
On Now You Know.
Sponsored today by our friends at abetterrouteplanner.com. And we're going to be going to Europe soon and using a better route planner to plan our entire trip from Sweden to Italy to the UK.
So better work.
It better work. Relegated to impossibility.
What?
Yeah, you're going to find out what that means.
Oh, okay.
I think you already know what it means.
I did come up with it, so I should know what it means. But you people do not know what it means.
All right, so in the wash of news that has happened in the last few weeks, few months actually with Tesla, there's been so much news that I think we've lost track of one new development in Tesla that we think has gotten very little attention. And it should have gotten a lot more attention. So what is that technological advancement?
It is advanced summon.
So before we go any further, what is advanced summon?
So basically the way that it works is when you are not in your car, you're standing in the parking lot, and your car is off parked somewhere, you can tell the car to come to you, and if it's within 150 feet, it will come to you. Without anyone in it, it will drive in the parking lot to your current location. Plenty of people who are watching the show probably know about it, have heard about it. I think we've talked about it a little bit, but we have not given it the attention that it deserves because it is more than just simply a little doodad feature.
Yeah, it's not just a parlor trick, and here's why I think that is. There's been no other car in history, no other real car in history that could do this in the real world.
Right. But there have been plenty of cars that we see in the movies and on TV shows that can do this.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about Herbie from back in, the 60s, if you think of Kit from Knight Rider,
right,
or Kit, I need you.
The Batmobile, Transformers, right? These are all self-driving cars. They're so cool. Every single one of them is cool, right? They're undeniably cool to have a car that could drive itself.
So, I mean, we're seeing videos pop up all over the internet as people begin to test out this feature in parking lots. And most of them don't look that impressive. You see the car, kind of pulling forward. But what I'm arguing here is that in the next few months, as the features get fine-tuned, it's probably going to be able to do more and more things. Maybe even the distance will improve from 150 feet. But I want you to picture this. It's raining. You just got out of a movie theater. There's lots of people with you under the marquee, all waiting for their husbands and boyfriends to go get the car and pull it up, right, so they don't get wet. And along comes this car, and it pulls up. The driver goes over and opens the door, and the family gets in. And all the people standing around kind of do double takes. They're like, wait, did I just see what I thought I saw? Mm-hmm. No one was in the car. That's what's going to hit people. They're going to be shocked because, as I just said, this only happened in movies.
Right. This is, again, a feature that we don't experience in our real lives. It's something that we have relegated to impossibility.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah. And so, I mean, people are going to pull out their phones and they're going to shoot video of this car.
Right.
They're going to ask the drivers, like, wait a second, tell me, is this car cost $1 million? How did you get this car? What is this car?
And the drivers of the cars, let's be honest, are going to want to show it off.
Yeah. It's a feature that I don't think you can fully comprehend because it's not in a boutique car. Yes, this probably could be put into $1 million car. Mm-hmm. And then when people saw it, they go, well, yeah, you're a millionaire. Mm-hmm. But when people actually ask and go, excuse me, sir, what kind of car is that? And you go, Tesla. And they go, oh, I heard they're hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you go, well, no, actually, this one starts at $35,000.
Right. And
they go, what? Up until this point, the only time that you would have seen something like this would have been in a movie or film, like we said. So let's think back to, Dick Tracy with the smartwatch, if you're old enough, or Star Trek. There were so many things like the communicator, the automatic doors. I mean, right now, you don't think twice about going into a supermarket and having the doors open for you, right? No one, you don't even think that's a thing. But it was a thing. And when that happened, everyone was like, doors that open themselves?
What is this, Star Trek? That's something that used to just never exist.
Exactly. Or let's take things that we all take for granted now, like submarines.
Right.
Before the 1800s, I mean, maybe, Leonardo da Vinci had a drawing of one, but before we actually had submarines, no one thought it could really happen.
Right. And so the, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was like, wow, there's probably, we just see ocean and we
right.
go over the surface of it, but there's stuff underneath it. minds explode thinking about trying to what could be under there.
And it's changed all of our lives.
Right.
Let's talk about spaceships and landing on the moon. I mean, that was from some of the original first movies, and it excited people's imaginations, and then we're doing it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if we talk about like video calls, in 2001, A Space Odyssey, they were doing video calls from Earth to Mars, and Blade Runner, Back to the Future 2. Video calls was like, oh, cool. You could see the person. And now we don't think twice about being like, hello, hi, yes, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, oh, I wish these people would leave their stupid video calling. Everything from VR goggles and Lawnmower Man, now that is a reality. It might not be something that we see every day. Robots, we see it from Boston Robotics. These are things that are just about to peak.
How about computers? That's something that's so ubiquitous that I forgot to even mention it. I mean, computers just a few decades ago was, how would we have a computer in a house? How would we have a computer in my pocket? How would we have a computer on my wrist?
Right. How would you have a computer that you could talk to? And, you could be like, computer, please calculate trajectory. And it'd be like, okay, plotting route to the grocery store. That kind of thing. Right. It now becomes is like, yeah, whatever. I'll just tell my phone to take me there. But before we had it, it was so cool. People were like, man, I really want that. And when those technologies actually started to happen, that is when people were like, oh, wow.
And many people might be thinking, well, that must cost $1 million. Right. If they see this happening in a parking lot, they're thinking, it's like some Hollywood car, it's special, whatever. When they find out it doesn't, that is going to blow their minds. And it's the best advertising ever. So we've been talking on the show all the time about the fact that Tesla doesn't do traditional advertising. Many car companies spend millions, if not billions of dollars on advertising. Why do you spend money to advertise?
It's to get it into people's minds that they want that. And so usually you have to sell a story. You have to be like, oh, here's a really successful, attractive, beautiful actor, actress. And here they are inside of the car. And this could be you.
Well, here it's going to happen right in front of you.
In front of you. So you're going to be like, am I in a movie?
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, you could be in a movie, but not really. Buy this car. It's going to be like, am I in a movie? Is this real life? Is this happening right now?
Right.
Because this looks like magic. And people love that, right? People love it when they're like, we have so many stories where it's like, we're going to go on an adventure. And they're like, oh my gosh, they have to bring the ring to Mordor. Or it's like, you're a wizard, Harry. And it's like, I didn't know that I was a magical wizard. And people love that story, right? They love that idea of being like, everyone else is just, they're a bunch of muggles, but you are special, right? And so suddenly you're like, and yes, that person, who's watching this car pull up is like, oh my gosh, it's magic. And the person's like, yeah, it is magic. It's a magic car. Welcome to the wizarding world. It's exactly that. And that is probably the best form of advertising, is to be like, oh my gosh, this is magic. I need this.
Yeah, because you can't pay for that. You have now completely engaged your audience. And these are people that are going to bump into this car all over the world all the time. This might be even better than Autopilot.
In terms of engaging people, right? Because Autopilot, let's just talk about Autopilot for a minute. You can kind of explain Autopilot to someone, oh, it's like the car drives itself on the highways.
What? What do you mean?
Right. So like you put it into Autopilot and it like maintains the lanes and then
like cruise control?
And it's like, no, it's not like cruise control. It's like you can take your hands off the wheel.
I don't understand. Is your feet still on the pedals?
No. Right? You can do all of this, and that's what Autopilot is.
What are you doing with your hands?
Nothing.
Can you go to sleep?
Right. There's so many dumb questions that come up, and even people who get Autopilot, I would say it takes at least 3 days to get used to it, because the first time you put it into Autopilot, you are scared out of your mind. You have no idea what this car is going to do. It's like getting into the passenger seat of a car driven by a 16-year-old. You have no idea what they're going to do, right? Like you may have
see the stop sign? Do you see the stop sign? Do you see? Oh, I saw the stop sign.
Right. And it takes a really long time to actually understand Autopilot and its limitations. You can't just you can't just magic that in front of someone's face, because they have a lot of questions about a lot of the ins and outs, and it's not perfect yet, right? You can't just be like, take me to grandma's house. Right. You can't do that yet, so it's not, this perfect magic thing. Whereas with Advanced Summon, the car is going to pull up and someone's going to be like, the car just pulled up. And you're going to be like, yeah, see you later, sucker.
Well, people can wrap their head around the fact that no one was in the driver's seat. Then it's like, oh, the car completely drove itself.
Right.
Humans had nothing to do with that.
Right.
So then when they do that and they see that the car drove itself, then they're going to go, oh, and something's going to click in their head.
And they're going to start down a journey, a mental journey of like, okay, the car can drive itself. What does that mean? Right? Now you're thinking about like, oh, I could have the car like do all these, like there's all of these things that you've always wanted to do, right? Like, oh, I want to go for like a big long run, but then I need someone to pick me up. And it's like, but maybe
I'll have my car
pick me up. Or like, oh, I want to, go to the airport and be dropped off at the airport or be picked up at the airport, but like I have to get someone to pick me up. And you're like, maybe not. Right. And then you're thinking that in the back of your mind. It's constantly happening. Right. This is something that you will come back to as a concept. And so even if you don't buy the car that day, even if you're like, oh, cool, Tesla, let me look it up. Neat. And you close your laptop and you just forget about it. It's going to come back to you as like, man, that is a cool thing.
And this wasn't some CEO telling you that it can happen. This was you seeing it happen.
Right.
And you're like, no, honey, I saw it happen.
Exactly. It was not on some glitzy ad where they're like, it works. Really?
Here's the thing.
Right.
Once they see it and they experience it, they're going to want it. It's just like getting a person to go for a test ride or a test drive in a Tesla. It starts a chain reaction in your mind like all that other tech we mentioned earlier. Once you know it has been done, you begin to ask, when will I get it? And what else can it do? And here's where I want to talk about smartphones, because I think to understand what we're talking about here, we have to all know what we're talking about. And one of the things we all know about is smartphones, okay? A few years ago, let's go back to, say, 2005. If we had sat here and told you that apps would be the biggest thing in 10 years, you would have probably said, you mean like appetizers? Yeah, really? So like, everyone's going to be eating...
It's just going to be appetizers? What about full meals?
So really, that's what happens in the future?
There's no more shepherd's pie?
And we'd be like, no, apps, man. Applications on phones.
On your phone.
They're going to be so
like on your phone.
Huge. Yeah. You're going to want apps for everything.
Right. And people would be like...
Don't you remember that? I mean, there were people saying that. And I remember at the time going, you don't know what you're talking about. Mobile this and that.
Right.
I know how to get things on my desktop computer. But now everybody asks, is there an app for that? There should be an app for that. Oh, great. There's an app for that.
Right. Because now these app companies are some of the richest companies on earth, right? We're talking like Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, Lyft, Uber, Venmo, Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, Waze. Like these are all different apps that are providing a service that if you had explained it before, people would have been like, but I don't want to do that. Or like, I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, like what if we had sat here 10, 15 years ago and said to you, it's an app called Waze. It'll be crowdsourced. So as people drive, they will give information to other drivers, and you'll know in an instant if there's an accident up ahead,
right? Or if there's traffic.
Exactly,
and it'll automatically route you around the traffic, and people will be like,
"That can't ever happen.
Can't ever happen." And
no
plus,
one would use it.
It's fine. I have the radio, and it tells me when there's traffic, and you'd be like, but no, it's better. And they'd be like, I don't
Or
believe you.
Spotify.
Right.
It's so much better than the radio. Right. And you'd be like, but I love the radio.
I love the radio.
Or how about Lyft and Uber? If we had told you 15 years ago that there'll be this thing in your phone where you can get a car anywhere practically, you would have been like, that can't
just call a cab.
And that can't work.
Right.
But it is working.
Right.
And that's because this amazing disruption has taken place.
Right. So advanced summon is part of a disruption, and it is a tangible aspect of this disruption that we are in the middle of. And very few can wrap their heads around the entire disruption, but this is one thing that we can be like, I got it, right? Because this is something that we've kind of seen a lot of in Hollywood. So it's kind of primed our minds, gotten us ready for the idea of like cars just driving up to us and we hop in them and go on an adventure.
And we love to see this embodiment of the aha moment, right? We all love to see videos of people who are in a Tesla watching it self-park, right? Or someone who gets into a Tesla and then gets accelerated in the Tesla. We love to see their faces and them at that moment going, oh, I get it.
Right. And Tesla is in the middle of so many of these kind of tangible aspects of this larger disruption, which is going to be full self-driving cars, right? Because we do not, as a society, treat full self-driving cars like it's going to happen. We all treat it like it's some sort of like, that's what all the nerds are talking about, but I don't know. It's hard to find someone who's like, oh yeah, self-driving cars, they're going to happen. People are like, I don't know. I mean, I talk to
40 years from now.
I I talk to really, really intelligent people, and they have their doubts. They're like, I don't know. Yeah, 30 or 40 years, maybe it's going to be safe enough.
But here's the thing. When you see a Tesla drive in a parking lot to you with no one in it,
Right.
that's proof of concept that it works. Now, you might still go, well, how does it work at high speeds and blah, blah,
And
blah.
there's lots of other questions, but for the most part, most people don't have any experience with Autopilot. When you're driving down the highway in Autopilot, other drivers are not looking over at you being like, the car is driving itself. Wow. Right? No one knows you're in Autopilot. They're just like, and I see them because I'm in Autopilot and I can look around, right? And I can see them eating sandwiches with their feet. It's just like, hello.
Stop eating sandwiches with your feet.
Yeah, drive the car.
When people see this technology and they go, I want this technology, and Tesla's making this technology, they're going to go, if you don't offer me a car, Ford, GM, Toyota, with this technology, then I don't want your car.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. Like, why do these nerds get this whiz kid technology? Like, I want to be a wizard too. Give me this wizard technology.
So there's two things going on at other car companies right now. They are either going, oh crap, we need to do this too. You guys figure it out.
Right.
Or there's crickets at those other companies where they go, don't worry about it. That's just, I don't know what that is. I don't even.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just don't worry about it.
Any company right now that's saying don't worry about it will not be a company for very long.
No, because, again, you might be saying like, oh, but this is just a stupid little feature, right? This is just a little gimmick. Yes,
Just like Lyft
right.
and Uber is a stupid little gimmick, just like Twitter and Facebook is a stupid little gimmick. You may choose one of those and say, I don't like it, but you can't choose all of them and say that they're all stupid.
Right. How many people do you know in your life that do not have a smartphone, that are not children? How many people? And if they don't have a smartphone, how often do you communicate with them? How often are you on the same page with them about things? Or are they just in a completely different reality than you?
Right.
Right? It's going to be that way. It's going to be oh, but I would go, but I'd have to drive. You're just like, what?
Right.
You have to, it's just like people look at flip phones and you're just like, what? Not that I do that. I'm a rather polite person. I don't try and make fun of them.
You just do it in your head.
Not really. I'm just like, oh, this is a human being with a
right. No, technology.
Phone, but
technology is advancing. This is an embodiment of that technology, and that's why we think it's so humongous that we can't even begin to realize what another moat this is for Tesla. When we talk about the Supercharger Network and we go, that's a moat for Tesla. This is another moat. What other car can do it?
Getting back to the Supercharger Network, that is a huge moat that no one sees, right? You must have to work at a mall or a hotel where there is a supercharger to maybe catch a glimpse of one small aspect of the Supercharger Network.
Right.
You do not understand the Supercharger Network until you go on a long distance road trip, and then you completely understand the Supercharger Network.
And to fit this advanced summon into the Supercharger Network, once you figure out advanced summon and a way to plug the car in and out autonomously, which they've pretty much already done, you're going to soon get to the point where it's like, drop your car off, go to the bank and the store and then this and that, come back, and your car will be right there in front of the store having just supercharged itself.
Right. And of course, we have done an entire series. I encourage you to go watch it, all about self-driving cars and the challenges and some of the amazing things that we just take for granted, having non-self-driving cars that are going to be vastly changed in most cases for the better. And this is just one milestone on the road to full self-driving, and it's so exciting, and it's going to get so many people excited about it.
Yeah, people stood in line for this car. No one was talking that day in line about, hey, and you know what else I'm going to have when I have that car?
Right.
Is advanced summon.
Right.
No.
All they were talking about was supercharging.
Right.
All they were talking about was just having an electric car, period.
Right.
That would work for their lives.
And not pollute our environment.
Right.
Right. And so this is just an amazing thing that got lost in the shuffle of so much news that came out. And I kind of wish that Tesla had given it its own little space to breathe in the public imagination. Regardless of that, it's going to be happening because video upon video and social media story all over the place are going to pop up about this. And you're going to be wowed by what an impact it's going to have on people around the world.
Right. And let's just talk for 1 minute about advertising again. Tesla has never paid for advertising, and it's never needed to. And up and including this point, it hasn't needed to run ads in order to get demand for its product to sell, right? They are production limited. They are not demand limited. That's another reason why you don't see Super Bowl commercials for Teslas. But I think that Advanced Summon is an ad for Tesla.
Yes.
Right?
It's a real life ad.
Right. It's as if you had a flash mob and people were like, boom, buy Coke. Yeah, yeah. You're going to buy some soda. It's sugar water. Going to feel real good. And then you're going to be real fat. Coke. And you'd be like, wow, that was so exciting. Oh my gosh. I wasn't expecting that in my life today. Right? You weren't expecting that. And this is going to be the exact same thing. A car's going to magically pull up and someone's going to get in it into the driver's seat and you're going to go, I was not expecting that in my life today. And they're going to go, holy crap.
Could that be a new thing? Could Teslas all do a flash mob and with the little music that pops
Again,
up?
they don't need it because
No,
they don't need to make up anything. They don't
Right.
need to be like, life's going to be great if you drink some Coke and yeah, going to make lots of friends, have a sexy girlfriend, yeah. You know, they don't have any of that. They don't need to sell it like that. They can just be like, boom, it's magic. Buy it. That's it.
That's it.
And we've lost our minds, which means that it's the end of In Depth. Thank you so much for watching. Now you know.